this government has been very clear that we are a small country, but because of the farsightedness of a previous edition of this government, well, this party in government in the previous time, we were farsighted enough to go to international arbitration and have our maritime boundaries demarcated. Now, Mr. Speaker, what that did was to allow us to know for sure that even though we are a small island state, we have large ocean resources. And that is why in the Declaration of Mission Barbados, there is reference to Barbados as a large ocean state, a state with a large ocean. And that ocean that we know lies within our purview is a significant resource. And I think as we look around the world, we recognize how important the maritime space is in international trade, in international economic activity. We can look as far afield as what is happening in Russia, Ukraine, and that when they speak to peace, the first place they want to have some peace is around a sea. Because sea, maritime space, is fundamental, is vital for economic activity. And for small states like Barbados, it is important that we have the regulatory framework built around our ocean resources so that we are able to address matters like the resources that lie in terms of fishing. We are able to address matters with respect to things like international trade. We are able to address any minerals that may lie in our waters and in our seabed. We are able to address matters that relate to biodiversity in our ocean ecosystems. We are also, and through this particular piece of legislation, addressing what happens at our port. And this is important. It is important that we, as a country, have that framework in place. And as a result of this government's approach to managing the affairs of this country, we have made sure to come to this honorable chamber with a wide range of legislation. A wide range of legislation that codifies our obligations internationally. And the Honourable Member for Christchurch South spoke to those, well, mentioned, he didn't really speak to them, but mentioned those international obligations. But they also are being put into place, and I say being put into place because there are other pieces still to come, even though we have enacted quite a number of pieces already. But these all come into place so that beside addressing the matter of our international obligations, we are also dealing with the matter of our economic development. And our economic development is critical for our social development. The Honourable Member for St. James South will tell you, as a student of politics, that there is one theory that speaks to the social and political superstructure being built on the economic infrastructure. Now, I didn't call the name of the theorists, the political theorists, because I realize sometimes when you get into calling those names, people start to label you. And so they may want to label me Marxist. But it is important for us to have some control so that we can determine our economic development based on the resources around us. This country, we've said for many, many years, for decades, does not have significant natural resources. That is what we used to say. I was taught that growing up. I was taught that studying economics at university not very long ago. After you, but still not very long ago, that we did not have significant natural resources. Mr. Speaker, our ocean space says to us that we do have a significant natural resource. In the bill before us in this Parliament that we're debating today, there is a component that speaks to obligations with respect to how workers are treated. The Honourable Member for St. Michael West Central also spoke to previous bills that dealt with maritime legislation and maritime, obligations internationally and for ourselves domestically, that also spoke to treatment of workers. And I mention treatment of workers as I speak to economic activity and natural resource, because Barbados now stands in a place where we are able to use the resource that we've talked about over all the years, that is to say our people resources, in conjunction with what we now know to be our natural resource. Our natural resource then, Mr. Speaker, has to be harnessed, but it has to be managed. And it has to be managed in such a way that the country benefits from that natural resource. Our ocean space has not been fully, let me use the word interrogated. We have not sought yet to determine fully what are those resources that lie within our ocean space, except for the fact that we are relatively sure that there are fossil fuel deposits, we believe, in that space. But Mr. Speaker, as more and more exploration is done in various places, we have come to know that beside hydrocarbon deposits, in these waters, there are living organisms, so fisheries, and we have come to this Parliament before to manage how we fish, how we exploit that resource. We know there could be mineral deposits, we don't know for sure, but we have enough space that will allow us to do the investigation. And so I begin the intervention just in the framework that says this matter of our ocean space, what we refer to now as the blue economy, holds much potential, is probably ripe for, and I'm using this word cautiously, exploitation. I use the word cautiously because exploitation is normally a negative word. But exploitation that I'm speaking about is the matter of using the resource for the benefit of the people. Now, if that is to be done, if the resources we have around us are to be used for the benefit of the people, then that use must be regulated. It must be regulated so that the use, whether it is by mining, whatever form the exploitation takes, it is regulated so that the benefits accrue to the people of the country. Ports play an important part in the whole blue economy and all the activity that surrounds the blue economy and any development of the blue economy in the country. Because, Mr. Speaker, ports of entry are entry points between sea and land. And so if we are to create that framework that allows for us to be able to ensure that the use and development of the resources in the blue economy is done for the benefit of the people, then we have to pay attention to our ports of entry. The Honourable Member for St. Michael West Central spoke to Spike Sound and the fact that in the cruise season, which is now probably at an end, we had 3 calls. There were 2 this year. He mentioned 2, but there were 2 this year, one in February and one in March. But before that, there was one last year from the Emerald, the ship, or mega yacht, however we refer to it, small cruise ship, Emerald Sakara. And we saw in Speightstown the beginning of what could become a very important activity for the town. We know that given the size of the town, we are not able to accommodate large numbers from larger vessels. And so the smaller ships, the mega yachts, those ships, the ships of that size, 200 persons, 250, maybe even up to 500, are the size that a town like Speightstown can accommodate. And I'm sure the Honourable Member for St. James Central may want to say to you that if he had his way, maybe some of those might be also off Holetown. And again, they would not want ships larger than, say, 400 or 500 persons, because there needs to be a sustainability. In our tourism development, we have to make sure that there is a happy balance between the visitor and those of us who live here, and who operate in this space. And so those smaller ships coming to Speightstown are precisely what we need. There are a number of things that the residents of Speightstown and the stakeholders in Speightstown would want me to say about the 3 calls that we've had. I term it the tastes that we've been given. There needs to be some further discussion on how these calls will ultimately benefit stakeholders in Speightstown and benefit the local economy around Speightstown. That is to say, the entire north of the island. In the 3 calls that were made in this cruise season that is now coming to an end, or has now come to an end, persons came off the ship, and for those who may not be aware, not every visitor on a cruise ship gets off the cruise ship. So that a ship of 400 persons may see 200 or 300 persons getting off the ship. There are people who cruise to stay on the ship, to have rest, to relax and to recuperate, and not everybody gets off of the ship. Those who got off of the Emerald Sakara were taken on a tour. So initially, they spent very little time in Speightstown when they got off. They went directly onto a tour. But when they came back, they were able to do some walking around in Speightstown. The fact that the ship called on Sundays was, probably still remains a bit of a challenge to those doing business. And that is why I say there needs to be some discussion. We welcome the ship, and that ship used one of the moorings that the Barbados port has placed off the jetty in Spike Sound, because the jetty, and I'm not going to get into the discussion, St. Peter and Spike Sound people have a lot of strong views about the jetty, and I've told them it is built. I'm not going to get into too much discussion about that, but because of the structure, ships like the Emerald Sakara have to stay away from the jetty. And so the moorings that have been placed by Barbados Port Inc., we are very, very happy for those, and the Sakara was able to use those moorings and tender visitors to the jetty and on to the shore. Now, I spoke to the fact that the calls were on Sundays, which are not traditionally days that many businesses are open, generally speaking, and definitely not many businesses beside restaurants open in Spike Sound. The fact that business people, and I think this is a point that has to be made, has to be reinforced. And I'm saying it and reinforcing it only because I've spent many, many years in the tourism business. And every Christmas, a very good friend of mine is very vocal about the fact that there are so many visitors on the island, but so few businesses open. Now, having grown up in business, I'll tell you that a business will open if those who manage it believe that there's going to be some return, because a business is not a philanthropic organization. And when a small vessel docks at the port, docks off Spike Sound, you know it has maybe 300, 350 persons on it. You know that 150 or 200 may get off of it. And that number of persons, you're not sure how many tours have been arranged. So you really are not sure what is the foot flow that you're going to have through the town on the day. And it means that opening your business is going to be a risk. Now, we've had, like I said before, a taste. And so businesses in Spike Sound have some limited knowledge. And I'm saying that to say that the business interaction with the visitor will grow over time. I am confident of that. Most of our business people are not risk takers, and so they will watch to see how things start to play out. And so over time, they will, I believe, as if the Emerald Star comes back and if other ships dock at Spike Sound, will be more open to opening their doors. And what we will also ask for, if it is possible, would be to have some of those small vessels come on days other than Sundays, days where there's going to be more activity. And we're sure that as more vessels come, they're not all going to come on the same day. And we believe that we will have some benefit. The importance of the jetty, the importance of ports and docks generally, are for the facilitation, the movement of people and things, cargo, from sea to land. There's always the need to make sure, and I join, not reluctantly, but with the Honourable Member for Christchurch South, to say that we have to be very careful with our borders. We have to make sure that all of the necessary precautions are taken at our borders to maintain the integrity of our country. And we have to be clear to say that we are not suspicious of any person or any group of persons. But at the same time, we have to ensure that our borders remain secure. And we have had the privilege of being able to use the facility that is the fish market at Spoit Sound, located as it is right at the head of the jetty, to make sure that those from customs and immigration were able to have a place, a location that would allow for the necessary services to be offered that would maintain the integrity of the town, but also maintain the integrity of the country. And so, Mr. Speaker, I believe that the legislation that we have been bringing to this Honourable Chamber over the past few years are part of a larger plan to make sure that our ocean space, what is really the country's ocean property, is developed for the benefit of those of us who live in this place, who live on this island, who are part of this country and the country's development. The other thing I would want to say, Mr. Speaker, is that as we debate the bill, one cannot help but think about the management of our fishing resources. We have to be very careful in our management of these resources, and I pause a little bit only because I don't want to be misunderstood. I am aware, when I wore another hat in another place at another time, that the idea of managing fisheries, particularly fish stock, carries with it some emotion. There are persons who, if they hear, well, we are going to reserve this space and allow fish stocks to replenish, will immediately think, I am going to lose my livelihood. I want to use this opportunity in the debate of this bill to maybe reassure our fisher folk that managing our ocean space, managing our ports, setting up frameworks for those who work in the maritime sector, in the blue economy, all these things work together to ensure that our development is sustainable. And sustainable development in fisheries in particular means that every time a fishers, that is the term we use, fishers are the terms we use. We don't use fishermen anymore, we use the term fishers. So when I say fishers, in international labor standards, we use the word fishers. But I understand the Honourable Member for Christchurch East, because we speak about fisher folk as well. But fishers are those who go onto the high seas. Yes, so we have fishers of men, but I didn't use it biblically. We refer to them as fishers, those who go onto the high seas. Fisher folk include those who sell fish on land as well. But we have, if the livelihood of fishers is to be maintained, if their livelihood is to be sustainable, then fish stocks have to be managed. We cannot overfish. We cannot, if we do that, Mr. Speaker, you will be able to eat today, but then you can't eat tomorrow. And so there is a balance that needs to be found as we exploit our ocean resources with respect to our fishing stocks. We recognize that the livelihoods of people have to be maintained. This government is a government that has said over time, people have to eat, and we recognize that. At the same time, we don't want people to eat today and not tomorrow. We want that the livelihood, the employment, the business that our fishers and our fisher folk are engaged in is sustainable. And so there will be times when we will have to manage those resources. We have a good example with respect to well, it's a delicacy. It has just slipped my mind. Sea eggs. Because they were overfished. And then successive governments have had to put measures in place to make sure that the stocks are replenished. We do not want that to happen with the fish stocks around our island. And so I'm appealing to our fisher folk to recognize and to continue to work with government. There may be a few who may still need to be persuaded, but government has the interests of all those involved in the blue economy at heart. And we want to make sure that development is sustainable. Our ocean resource is valuable. It contains much. But if we are to have the benefits that we know can be obtained from it, we have to make sure we manage it well. And so, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, I just really wish to compliment the ministry responsible for international transport. I compliment the ministry responsible for the blue economy, and for the blue economy, and I compliment the previous iteration, which was maritime affairs and the blue economy. This area of economic activity is absolutely vital for the development of our country. It offers to us, for the first time, significant natural resource to put alongside our significant human resource, people resource. And I'm confident, and this government is confident, that with the correct framework in place, this piece of legislation plus other pieces of legislation, with this framework in place, we will be able to realize the benefits, the economic benefits, and coming out of the economic benefits, the social benefits that come from our people working with our natural resources under a framework that allows for sustainable development, sustainable exploitation, and one that all of us can benefit from. The port is but one part of this entire ocean or blue economy ecosystem. We, from the Ministry of Labor's perspective, are very clear. We've already ratified the Maritime Labour Convention, 2006. That convention is a reference point in much of the legislation brought here by the Honourable Member for St. Michael West Central. That legislation, the legislation reflecting the convention puts in place many safeguards for our fishers and for fisher folk generally. It allows for activity on what we call the high seas, not to be the survival of the fittest, not to be exploitative, but it recognizes that in order for workers to be productive, they need to be protected. And so I compliment the drafters and those who work in the maritime area of the Ministry of International Transport and in the Ministry of the Blue Economy for much attention to detail, for their focus on allowing us as a government to go into a place that a government has not gone into before in as significant a way. Because, Mr. Speaker, this government has done more with respect to our blue economy, our maritime space, than I believe any other government before has. And this government must be complimented for recognizing the importance of this space, of this industry, and what it can do for the country and the people of the country. Mr. Speaker, I am happy to associate myself with this bill. I expect benefits, continuing benefits, for the people of St. Peter. I spoke to the jetty already, and we have identified that there needs to be some haul-out facilities for boats, fishing boats, particularly as we approach the hurricane season. And I happen to be aware that a number of planning gains for significant development in St. Peter include the building of haul-out facilities. We are thankful to Port St. Charles that offers safe harbor to many of the boats around St. Peter and St. Lucie. And we recognize, though, that we need to have some additional facility to allow boats to be hauled out. And so the haul-out facilities, we expect to have the development of fishing vending facilities at Six Mains, already discussed with the residents of Six Mains, and then the additional areas to be placed, the facilities, the moorings, the additional moorings to be placed around the jetty at Spikestown. I think there to be either 3 or 4. And if I'm not mistaken, there may be about 2 already done, I think, subject to correction. But we look forward in St. Peter to those things being put in place so that as the country benefits from exploiting this resource that we find around us in such abundance, we expect that in St. Peter, we too will benefit from this natural resource. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I support this bill. The people of St. Peter, as a maritime constituency, a maritime parish, we support this bill wholeheartedly, and we look forward to the benefits that will accrue to us and to the country. I'm obliged to you.
Honourable Member for Christchurch, West Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I happen to be the earshot of my good colleague, Senior Minister, Member of Parliament for St. James Central, when he said, Fishers of Maine. But I want this august chamber to understand that when that biblical verse was ushered in eons ago, it also meant fishers of women. And I am happy today to say that, coming off of the last 2 weeks where we had the all-female fishing group graduating at our Fish Offal and Fish Silage project, where in partnership with FAO, we were able to provide the facilities, the equipment, and of course the finances so that those women in the fishery sector can realize their dream as it relates to entrepreneurship, taking the waste from our fish that would normally go to our landfill and creating a business as we speak about circular economy. There is no way that we can just transition in the way that we have exposed across the world unless we are able to incorporate, as we move from a leaner to a more circular economy, those marginalized groups, those women in the sector, persons suffering with disabilities, and of course, our indigenous or traditional people. They must become an integral part of the discussion, or not just transition will become a misnomer. I am saying that, and it's very important because as we transition to various sectors, especially those in the blue economy, the time is now right for us to appreciate that as climate change continue to wreak havoc across the world, that we must have every single person on board in terms of the fight. And as we create these new green jobs and green opportunities, we must be able to incorporate every single person, whether old, young, whether persons with disabilities, the women as I just spoke of, and that is the only way. We can't have a relationship with our sustainable development goal, to especially 12, which speaks to responsible consumption and production, unless we are equally able to just transition. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to associate myself with this piece of legislation and to congratulate the minister because it's an important, very important piece of legislation. It aligns itself with what we consider our national policy as it relates to our seaport. And we would have came on a previous occasion and espouse, of course, in this same very chamber, our relationship in terms of our national policy as it aligns with international commitments. And to say that the bill speaks to 6 or so pillars, very important pillars, and I will be brief as I go through them. The minister alluded to them earlier, but I think that is important that I add my voice as well. The importance of having efficient shipping in terms of how we use our sustainable development to ensure that those persons who are involved in pilotage, those responsible for navigating ships to those ports, that they have the training, the essential training to be able to do and carry out their functions in a sustainable way. I think that that is an important piece of legislation that we must associate ourselves with. And of course, the import management in terms of how our ships are landed, and then, of course, how the cargo is brought to land in a safe way. So it speaks to a level of efficiency in the shipping. Pillar 2, of course, deals with fishing in a clean ocean, and it identifies the protocols and the strict regulations that is enforced, obviously, from our environmental protection agencies to ensure that what happens in our sea, especially in our seaport, aligns itself with a clean and holistic policy. It aligns itself with what we are doing in terms of ensuring that our ocean bed is not affected by pollution of any sort. And that is something that we will consider very important, high on our list of credentials and important aspects of fishing. Pillar 3, of course, deals with safe shipping to ensure that the regulations that the port, that there are safe regulations so that we don't have unwanted accidents in terms of our port, and that where possible, that we can have the safe movement of ships from our ports and to our ports. And I think that that is very important. It speaks to the safety precautions in the workplace, and the Member of Parliament of St. Peter spoke to those a few minutes ago, how we could ensure that those persons involved in the whole shipping industry and the ports are operating in a safe manner. Pillar 5 speaks about building resistance against vulnerabilities in our fishing, how we will use technology to ensure that the navigation is sound and it aligns itself with the international arena. Of course, the green technologies that we will pursue, because that is the only way that we can ensure that we have a decarbonized industry. Pillar 6, of course, speaks to shipping governance and to ensure that what the Member of Parliament for St. Michael West Central is doing today is the norm in terms of how we are able to govern our fishing industry with proper legislation that embodies all aspects of shipping. They told me that he brought about 12 or so pieces of legislation so far to this August chamber, and at the rate that he's going, I know that by the end of the year, you may have that double. He is not short in terms of execution for sure. I am happy with what I see before me, but in order for us to truly realize the ocean space or the blue economy, that is, as far as the calculation brings itself, 430 times the area space of our biosphere. In order for us to truly realize that potential, we must be able to demarcate our ocean in a scientific way. And when I say scientific way, I really mean the marine spatial plan and how we can announce to this country in a special way a plan that seeks to ensure that every single area of our EEZ is demarcated so that we can have the full potentials, so that there can be sustainable development, so that we will be able to get 430 times the profit of our land space. Because the ocean space is an oasis of sustainable development and growth. It is rich in biodiversity. And that is why we said, as part of our marine spatial plan, and it's only 2 weeks ago or so that I was able, along with the Institute of Ireland, to officially launch the studies that will be done in the northeastern, southwestern area, which will first look at our high protective biodiversity, those sensitive species that we speak of all the time, the leatherback, hawksbill turtle, those species that if we are not careful in the way how we manage them, will become extinct and then threaten the livelihood of not only the ocean space, but the world as we know it. Because we know that those species are important for the survival of our biodiversity. And then we also said that we will look, secondly, at the medium protective biodiversity. Those are the 2 areas we will seek to roll out as part of our marine spatial plan, which will be developed over a 5 to 7 year period. And we have now had the memorandum of understanding, and we have said that over the next couple of months, by the end of the year for sure, that we will have that examination, the bathymetric studies, and the studies in terms of our ocean and how we get the information to start demarcating. Therefore, we can then say with certainty that this area is not only good for biodiversity, but sister to that is an area that could be used to enhance our reefs and our coral. And then there is another area that we can get that much needed energy as a resource from. We can also have the conversation about areas that we can ensure that there is sustainable fishing, artisanal fishing, by having what I would have alluded to earlier in my fisheries management bill, when I say that there must be areas in this country where aquaculture and mariculture must become an essential part of the conversation going forward. So there will be areas for mariculture where we will be able to maintain our fish stock, because fish management, and I want to be able to negate the fears of any of our fisher folk out there, because we understand the importance of fish management and ensuring that there are fish management studies, so that when we are talking about mariculture, we're not only talking about mariculture for export purposes, but to allow our fishermen to be able to have that sustainable stock. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, we have made it life a little easier for our fisher folk with our fish aggregating devices, and thanks to the Member of Parliament for St. Michael's South, he made it a reality for our fisher folk. So there will be areas that we would identify for our fish aggregating devices, and to ensure that they are put in areas that could be amenable not only for fish catch, but our fisher folk in terms of being able to get to those areas. There will be areas, Mr. Speaker, sir, for marine management. because we understand the importance of that, how we manage our marine resources. And then, of course, areas for recreation. We know that Barbadians love the beach, and we have said, as part of any marine spatial plan, that there must be areas where people can have the jet skis, etc., in a safe environment. That is what we have said. So, Mr. Speaker, this is just part of us building out an entire blue economy so that we can have sustainability across the board. We have also said as well, because it is very important, vitally important, for us to be able to use the new technologies, because it is well researched and documented that the shipping industry is responsible for a lot of the greenhouse gas produced, well documented. And what we have said as part of our, not only our national plan, but a plan that aligns itself with the international trust to have a greener environment across the world. We have said that the new abatement technologies must be used in our fishing industry and our shipping industry as well. And so we will be having the conversation with those players to be able to transition to those greener technologies, along with improving our technologies in terms of our shipping so that there will be safe and productive shipping. Those are the type of conversations that we are having now. But we have gone a little further, because we have said that post-Hurricane Beryl, we know that there was a lot of damage along our shoreline. It ran, Mr. Speaker, from Oistins, Royal in St. Peter. We have had damage Sand Street, Clencliff in St. Lucie, and Rockley. And we have said, and Six Mens, of course. I won't forget, my partner for St. Peter will never let me forget Six Mens. And we have said that there must be a project that looks at the area of the entire area from the north to the south. I'm happy to report today that we, over the next couple of days, will be launching, along with the IDB, a project that will be looking at specific areas at first, so we would have that scientific studies and those assessments, environmental assessments, so that we will be able to know how we can use both gray technologies and green technologies in order to build that resilience, in order to have those breakwaters and those grains and those revetments. We have said that as a government, that is the type of business that we will be operating under. You've heard that during the delay of our budget, of course, by the Member of Parliament for Christchurch East Central, that we will be having a new agency with primary responsibility of those areas, the beachfront and the ocean space, the BOCA as you call it. That's the acronym for the Barbados Ocean and Coastal Authority. And we have said that this authority will be given the mandate not only to operationalize these built resilience and these built resilient measures, but of course, ocean governance and other ocean activities as it relates to our blue economy. Our maritime environment must become the environment at the lips of every single Barbadian if we are going to survive the test of times. Beryl taught us, unfortunately, a hard lesson in terms of what is happening with our climate change and the crisis that we face. It is not happenstance that we had a Category 4 hurricane in July. First time that it has ever been recorded. The National Hurricane Center told us in no uncertain terms that after 10 years of monitoring hurricanes, this is the first time that this anomaly took place. First time. And in July. 1st of July. Never happened before. And based on the trajectories, these things will continue to happen. That is why it's important that when my colleague thought about polymetallic nodules under the bottom of the ocean and how we need to protect those polymetallic nodules, although in the new era of technology, persons may be excited to get their hands on them. And these nodules, these nodules that I'm speaking of course, Mr. Speaker, are the cobalt and the copper, titanium, iron, manganese. Those are the polymetallic nodules that I'm talking about. But they're not on the seabed by happenstance. Scientists have realized that these nodules serve an important function in terms of regulating the heat under the bottom of the ocean. Sometimes 30,000 feet below our ocean space. And they have vital and important functions in terms of regulatory activities. That is what the conversation we are having. So it is for us to be able to preserve that which will protect us in the event that they are interfered with in a way that doesn't align itself with scientific knowledge and expertise. Mr. Speaker, we have heard the conversation about biological diversity beyond our national jurisdiction and how important it is to our ocean space. We have said that we must have a high ambition coalition as it relates to how we treat to that biodiversity. It is known the world over that at least 93.3% of the ocean is unclaimed. But in that 93.3%, the world over can liberate as much as 50% more of our biological diversity. We know the importance of our biological diversity, both in our biosphere and our hydrosphere of the sea as we know it. We know the importance of protecting that biodiversity. So in order for us to do that, we have to align ourselves with efficient shipping and environmentally sound shipping so that that which happens on the ship certainly don't affect what is happening in terms of the ocean and in terms of the coral, our reefs, and of course our biodiversity. So we have said as a global pact that the world over must be able to protect that additional 50% and liberate it too. I have said already, and it is a maxim that is easy on my lips, that the world began with biodiversity. It will die without it. And so the species loss and our blue economy and our blue environment and our hydrosphere is well documented as well. The loss of our corals and our reefs, also well documented. And it's high time that we are able to take a stand, not only as a nation, but of course, we must lead our voices across the world. We must have that Shirley Chisholm moment of showing up, standing up, and speaking up for the protection of our blue environment and our blue economy. I want to say that this shipping legislation is an important piece of legislation. It speaks to how we will interact at the level of our port, particularly our seaport, how those persons involved in industry will seek to decarbonize it, and I think that is a very important conversation. That's a conversation, of course, me and the Member of Parliament for St. Michael West Central, I almost said Christchurch West Central. There is a Yamos there. How we will be able to work together and have that synergy to ensure that what he does in the shipping industry and the seaporting industry aligns itself and, of course, marries itself with what I do in terms of protecting the blue environment. I am happy to associate myself with this legislation that is important to ensure we have safe, efficient, and environmentally sound seaporting. And I want to congratulate the Member of Parliament for St. Michael Central, and to say, job well done. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Christchurch East.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that we do suspend the sit-in for 15 minutes. That would take us to 4:50.
4:50.
Yeah.
Question is that this honourable chair will be suspended until 4:50 p.m. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, please say no. Meeting, the ayes have it. Mr. Honorable Chairman stands suspended until 4:50 p.m. This sitting is resumed. Honourable Michael West Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very careful not to say Mr. Deputy Speaker. First of all, let me thank all honourable members who participated in the debate for the very useful contributions. Of course, as I indicated, we've done a lot of work in respect of the Maritime Affairs Department, and therefore this bill is but an additional accomplishment in respect of the path that we ought to go. Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition would have made reference to Clause 71. We will deal with that in an amendment. We are going to bring some clarity with respect to that, to realign it with the port. That it is an employee of the port, but we will deal with that when we come to the committee stage. But I just thought I'll get that out of the way. In respect of heritage, the Leader of the Opposition had referenced Section 65. I may remind him, I'd like to remind the Leader of the Opposition that coastal zone management does not fall under my ministry, but suffice to say that matters relating to heritage, those matters are vitally important, and I'm sure that the minister responsible for the coastal zone management will definitely pay attention to that, and I certainly will draw it to his attention. He was, in fairness, he was out of the chamber at the time, taking a very urgent call with respect to some matters, and therefore I will address those matters with him. Let me also say, though, that heritage tourism is something that we continue to focus on, and you have seen not only in this particular bill, but other maritime legislation bills that we've brought to this chamber that we have set out to ensure we protect the maritime, in particular the maritime heritage and underwater bill that we brought to this honourable chamber. With respect to the number of cruise ships, I know the Leader of the Opposition, the Honourable Member for Christchurch South, was a little mischievous. He repeated 463 calls, and he wanted, obviously, to, as a skilled attorney would try to do, to make sure he got the message out there, whether it were calls, whether it were visits. So let me just inform the Honourable Member for Christchurch South that every time a cruise ship visits Barbados, that is defined as a port call. We call them calls. So therefore, if you have 463 visits, as we are likely to have in the next season, and I can assure the member that that is where we are now, potentially we can move from 463 to and beyond that number. But at this time, we have 463 calls on the books for the next season. So I just wanted to clarify, at least any miscommunication should go in the public domain, that every time a cruise ship arrives and visits the port, that is defined as a port call. And the more port calls you have, the more passengers you have, the more revenue you have, the more income that we have out there for taxi drivers to make as a result of tours and transfers and everything else that the taxi operators benefit from, including the Grand Leams International Airport, if they are doing air-to-sea transfers, that they also benefit from the duty-free spend. And you will note that I went to great lengths in the budget debate to expound on the subject of visitor spend. And I also went out and even indicated to the public that we have implemented a visitor task force on spend. It is important for us to extrapolate as much spending as we can from those who visit Barbados, and we will continue in that vein because we recognize that we do a great job getting visitors to Barbados, but once they're here as our guests, we need to even extrapolate even more from them. We are undertaking a number of initiatives that will be publicized, obviously, as we go about to increase visitor spend in Barbados. So I thought that I would make that point. In addition to that, the Leader of the Opposition raised the issue about Home Porting. It is true, the ministry is doing, and the country by extension, we are doing very well with respect to home porting. It is good business for Barbados. not only do we have an opportunity if persons want to conduct a flight to Barbados, stay in Barbados, and then transition to cruise ships, but we also have opportunities where passengers are allowed to overnight in Barbados, allowing us, for example, in the Honourable Member for Christchurch South in his constituency, Oystons, for those small business people to benefit from, to allow the taxi drivers to get some benefits as well, and to allow the port also to earn some much needed revenue from these activities. So we will continue to promote Home Porting. It is very good for the destination. In fact, the 24-25 season, we anticipate we will have 204 calls, Home Porting calls, and that is very important for us. As you can see, Mr. Speaker, as we go on, we are telling the story of the improvements that we're doing, not only the port, why we're doing the improvements, because Barbados is a marquee, Barbados's port is a marquee destination. As we continue to build out and add more cruise vessels to Barbados, more passengers, it is important that we ensure we have the port infrastructure ready. And that is why we're spending as much time as we are spending to ensure that we manage the whole issue of congestion in the port, because we recognize we need to have not only cargo ships, but we need to have cruise ships into Barbados for us to continue to build out our earnings. So I thought I would mention the whole issue of Home Porting in respect to the concern raised by the Leader of the Opposition. The other issue, Mr. Speaker, that the Leader of the Opposition raised had to do with port security, and I'm delighted to inform the Honourable Member that the port has spent considerable sums in this area. In fact, it is no secret that all pedestrians, including passengers, have to be scanned at the main gate at the port on re-entry. It is also no secret that they pass through customs when they're exiting the port. All luggage, including those for Home Porting passengers, is scanned before loading onto the ship, and the passengers are also required to go through the screening process. There are other security measures, including the K9 unit that are already in place. I'm not going into details, but suffice to say that in 2018, when this Barbados Labour Party government came to office, there were a number of security deficits at the port. And the Barbados Labour Party government immediately recognized the need to strengthen port security and went about, Mr. Speaker, dealing with these issues. We had a situation where the port had cameras, I believe there were 60 cameras or so, and those cameras were operationalized for World Cup in Barbados back in 2007. And when you did a review of those systems, you had less than half of the 60 cameras being operable, which obviously will compromise. But that was before our time. So when we came into office, we recognized that that this was another deficit that we had to address. The port had acquired a mobile scanner. I believe they did so in 2017. The one that they procured obviously was not in good order. It was not effective, and therefore the government of Barbados had to go and buy a new scanner. And I'll come back to that very shortly. The pallet scanner, for example, Mr. Speaker, that's used to X-ray commercial cargo with a single plane dimensional X-ray system. Again, 2019, we had to improve the security at port. A port security analysis was undertaken. We got the results. We conducted a plan, and we put that plan in place to ensure that we minimize and reduce any issues at our border control. Let me, Mr. Speaker, detail some for the Honourable Member for Christchurch South. For example, we purchased a dual plane scanner. It was installed at Shed 2 for personal effects at the Shallow Draft Shed for inter-island fruit consignment at $295,000 each. And again, these scanners are effective against bulk, what you call bulk liquids and three-dimensional range cargo, such as barrels side by side. Mr. Speaker, we also went on and we procured the replacement of a single plane scanner for commercial cargo by a dual plane, or what you call the multi-dimensional scanner at Shed 4. another 410,000, Mr. Speaker. The portal container scanner, which effectively is a drive-through scanner, at Shed 4, purchased for 410,000. The portal scanner, the drive-through scanner at the port, which inspects all of the full containers leaving the port, all containers entering the port for export. That was purchased. The scanner alone, Mr. Speaker, was purchased for $6 million, minus the infrastructural works that had to be undertaken to ensure that we have the scanner there. Another luggage scanner for cruise was procured for $269,000. And we have an AI-enhanced security monitoring system, $4 million. In addition to drones, you got the K9 security, and obviously other security arrangements that I will not labor the House with this evening. But effectively, Mr. Speaker, since the Barbados Labour Party came to office in 2018, the Barbados Labour Party government, has spent more than $25 million in port security enhancements. Now, if you're talking about cross-border protection, if you want to ensure that you don't have contraband getting through your ports, it therefore means that the government, and a responsible government will have to do this, is to ensure that we make investments at our port. And considering all that we've accomplished, and in terms of all the deficits that we realize, the amount of money that we have invested in port security, $25 million, as I indicated, is no mean feat. But we have to do these things because it is important that we protect our borders. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to go into all of the other details. I believe those were the major issues raised in the debate today. We are going to continue with our drive in terms of building out facilities across the island. We will also continue as our core strategy, driving more cruise business to Barbados and ensuring that we take some of that business and divert it to the north at Speightstown, as we, even though it will be a tendered operation, once the sea swells are not too difficult, we will continue with tender arrangement as requested by a lot of the smaller luxury cruise ships that come to Barbados. So, Mr. Speaker, I believe that I have dealt with all the necessary comments and points raised in the debate today. I'm sure it will be a long day for all of us. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I would like to seek your leave to ask that the House now resolve itself.
Honourable, we have to move the bill read a second time.
I beg that the bill be read a second time, sorry.
The question is that the bill be read a second time. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against it, please say no. Me think the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I now seek your approval for the House to resolve itself into committee for further consideration of the bill.
The question is that this honourable chamber be resolved into Standing Finance Committee for further consideration of this bill. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Me think the ayes have it.
This Honourable House is now in committee.
Yeah. Find out where they are. Go find out where they are.
Yes, you may.
Part 1, clauses 1 through 4.
Mr. Chairman, I beg that clauses 1 to 4 stand par.
The question is that Part 1, clauses 1 to 4 stand par. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Part 2, clauses 5 and 6.
Mr. Chairman, I beg that clauses 5 to 6 stand par. Part 2, clauses 5 to 6 stand par.
The question is that Part 2, clauses 5 and 6 stand par. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Part 3, clauses 7 through 13.
Mr. Chairman, I beg that part 3, clauses 7 to 13 stand par.
The question is that Part 3, clauses 7 to 13 stand par. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Part 4, clauses 14 to 29.
Mr. Chairman, I beg that part 4, clauses 14 to 29 stand par.
The question is that Part 4, clauses 14 to 29 stand par. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Part 5, clauses 30 through 32.
Mr. Chairman, I beg that part 5, clauses 30 to 32 stand par.
The question is that Part 5, clauses 30 to 32 stand par. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Part 6, clauses 33 to 38.
Mr. Chairman, I beg that part 6, clauses 33 to 38 stand par.
The question is that Part 6, clauses 33 to 38 stand par. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Part 7, clauses 39 through 46.
Mr. Chairman, I beg that part 7, clauses 39 to 46 stand par.
The question is that Part 7, clauses 39 to 46 stand par. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Part 8, clauses 47 to 50.
Mr. Chairman, I beg that part 8, clauses 47 to 50 stand par.
The question is that Part 8, clauses 47 to 50 stand par. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Part 9, clauses 51 to 54.
Mr. Chairman, I beg that part 9, clauses 51 to 54 stand par.
The question is that Part 9, clauses 51 to 54 stand par. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Part 10. Part 10, clauses 55 to 65.
Mr. Chairman, I beg that part 10, clauses 55 to 65 stand par.
The question is that Part 10, clauses 55 to 65 stand par. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Part 11, clauses 66 to 70.
Mr. Chairman, I beg that part 11, clauses 66 to 70 stand par.
The question is that Part 11, clauses 66 to 70 stand par. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Call it. Separate. Just go. Clause 71.
Clause 71, Mr. Chairman, I would like to move an amendment here. At clause 71.1 be deleted and the following substituted. Where any port or harbor charges are owing and remain unpaid for a period of 1 month or more in respect of a ship, the ship may be arrested by an authorized employee of Barbados Port, Inc. And at clause 71.2, insert the words authorized employee, after the words, authorized employee, that the words of the Barbados Port, Inc., and after the words owing to, delete the words the authority and substitute the words the Barbados Port, Inc. Therefore.
Beg to second the amendment.
Good.
The question is that part, that those amendments stand part. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Now, part 12, parts, clauses 71 to 73 as amended.
Mr. Chairman, I beg that part 12, clauses 71 to 76 as amended stand part. 73. Clauses 71 to 73 stand part.
The question is that part 12, clauses 71 to 73 as amended stand part. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Part 2 as amended. Part 13, clauses 74. This is here too? Which one?
94. The 94. 74 and 94. So you can speak on 94. 74 and 94. Part 13, 74 and 94.
Part 13, clauses 74 to 94.
The question.
He's going to make an amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I wish to propose an amendment at clause 94. I propose that 94 be deleted and the following substituted. The minister may, by order, amend the schedules to this act.
Beg to second that.
The question is that part,
No. That clause 94 as
that clause
amended.
94 as amended
Stand part.
stand part. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Therefore, sir, part
13.
Part 13, as amended, clauses 74 to 94.
Mr. Chairman, I wish to move that part 13, clauses 74 to 94 as amended stand part.
Beg to second that.
The question is that part 13 clauses 74 to 94 as amended stand part. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
The first schedule.
Speaker, I beg that the first schedule be the schedule to the bill.
Beg to second that, Mr. Chair.
The question is that the first schedule will be the schedule to the bill. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Do the minutes and everything. The second schedule.
Mr. Chairman, the second schedule will be the schedule to the act.
Beg to second that.
schedule.
The question is that the second schedule will be the second schedule to the bill. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Third schedule.
Mr. Chairman, I beg that the third schedule be the schedule to the bill.
Beg to second that.
Question is that the third schedule will be the third schedule to the bill. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
The fourth schedule.
Speaker, the fourth schedule be the fourth schedule to the bill.
Beg to second that.
The question is that the fourth schedule be the fourth schedule to the bill. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
The fifth schedule.
The fifth schedule be the fifth schedule to the bill.
I beg to second that.
The question is that the fifth schedule be the fifth schedule to the bill. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
The sixth schedule.
Mr. Chairman, the sixth schedule be the sixth schedule to the bill.
The question is,
I beg to second that, sir.
the question is that the sixth schedule be the sixth schedule to the bill. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Report.
Mr. Chairman, I beg that you report the passing of one bill in committee with amendments to His Honor the Speaker.
I beg to second that.
Question is that I do not report the passing of one bill in committee with amendments to His Honor the Speaker. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Chairman of committees that report on the passing of one bill with amendments in committee. Honourable Member St. Michael West Central.
Mr. Speaker, I beg that the bill be read a third time.
Question is that this bill be read a third time. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it. Honourable Member.
Mr. Speaker, I beg that the bill be now passed and be cited as the Seaport Industry Management Operations and Development Act 2025.
Beg to second that.
The question is that this bill be passed and so cited. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it. This bill is passed and so cited.
Go ahead.
Speaker, I'd like to revert to announcements. Announcements by Your Honor.
Yes? The question is for the following minutes to be confirmed. Monday, September 30th, 2024. Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. Tuesday, December 17th, 2024. Tuesday, January 7th, 2025. Friday, January 17th, 2025. Tuesday, 20th January, 2025.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that subject to any observation that the aforesaid minutes be confirmed.
The question is that the aforementioned minutes be confirmed. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it. The aforementioned minutes are hereby confirmed.
Speaker, revert to papers.
Mr. Speaker, I am commanded to lay the Financial Services Commission annual reports for the years 2021 to 2022, 2022 to 2023, and 2023 to 2024.
Honourable Member St.
Mr.
Joseph.
Speaker, I beg to move that we take a short suspension until 20 to 6.
The question is that this honourable chamber be suspended until 5:40 p.m. All those honourable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it. This honourable chamber stands suspended until 5:40 p.m.